There are things in life that should never be shared. Secrets that, once spoken, can shift relationships, invite unnecessary judgment, or even steal your peace. As we grow older, we learn that protecting our energy is just as important as sharing our wisdom. Today, we're diving into 9 things you should always keep to yourself. Things that, when guarded, become a source of quiet power. Stay with me, because once you know these, you'll never look at certain conversations the same way again. Let's begin. 1. Your deepest regrets. I remember sitting with an old friend over tea, reminiscing about the choices we made in our youth. She sighed, stirred her cup absent-mindedly, and said, "I still wonder what my life would have been like if I had taken that job abroad." I could hear the weight in her voice, the sadness of a door she never walked through. I nodded, but inside I knew regrets are a cruel thing to carry, and even crueler to share. The truth is, we all have regrets. A decision we wish we had made differently, a chance we didn't take, or words left unspoken. But here's the thing, talking about them too much doesn't change the past. It only reopens old wounds. Worse, it invites judgment or pity from those who don't understand the weight of your choices. Regrets have a way of making us believe that we could have done better. But life is never that simple. We made the best decisions we could with the knowledge we had, so instead of sharing regrets, I've learned to turn them into quiet lessons. What did I learn? How did it shape me? That's where the value lies. The past isn't meant to be rewritten through conversation. It's meant to be carried with grace. 2. Health challenges. Beyond close, trusted ones. A few years ago, I made the mistake of mentioning a health issue to a group of acquaintances. It wasn't anything major, just a small struggle I was dealing with. But soon, I noticed how their eyes softened when they looked at me, how their voices carried an edge of sympathy that I hadn't asked for. Suddenly, I wasn't me anymore. I was the woman with the health issue. People mean well, but the moment you share your health struggles too openly, they begin to define you by them. You become a story, a cautionary tale, or worse, a subject of pity. Of course, it's important to talk about these things with trusted loved ones or doctors, but beyond that, not everyone needs to know the details. What I've found is that strength isn't in sharing every hardship. It's in carrying some burdens privately, with dignity. The world doesn't need to see every battle scar to know that you are strong. Some things are yours alone to carry, and that's perfectly okay. 3. Family conflicts and drama. There was a time when I would pick up the phone and vent to my sister about a disagreement I had with my daughter. It felt good to let it out, to have someone take my side. But then I noticed something strange. At the next family gathering, my sister's tone with my daughter had shifted. There was tension, an unspoken discomfort that hadn't been there before. And I realized my moment of frustration had planted a seed of division. Family conflicts are tricky. When you share too much about your disagreements, people remember, often long after you've moved on. You might forgive, but they won't forget. Suddenly, your loved one is being seen through the lens of that one argument, and relationships suffer because of it. I've learned to keep family matters where they belong, within the family. When I have an issue, I talk to the person involved or keep it within a trusted circle, within words, because at the end of the day, we don't need an audience for every family disagreement. Some things are meant to be worked through in private with love and understanding, not public scrutiny. 4. Your full financial situation. Why some details should remain confidential. Money has a way of bringing out the best and the worst in people. I learned this the hard way when I casually mentioned my retirement savings plan in a family gathering. It started as a simple conversation, but by the end of the evening, I had heard a dozen unsolicited opinions on what I should do with my money. Some meant well, but others seemed to have their own interests in mind. Our financial situations are personal, and not everyone needs to know the full picture. There's a fine line between seeking advice and exposing yourself to unnecessary scrutiny. A close friend of mine once confided in her neighbor about a modest inheritance she received. Within weeks, she noticed people treating her differently, some with admiration, others with a hint of expectation. It was a reminder that not everyone has pure intentions when it comes to money. Keeping your financial details private isn't about secrecy, it's about maintaining control. If you ever need professional advice, seek it from a trusted financial advisor rather than discussing it openly with family or friends who might not have your best interests at heart. Share only what's necessary and remember, your financial security is yours to protect. 5. Inheritance plans and will details, protecting family harmony. One of the hardest lessons I've learned is that money can strain even the closest of relationships. When my dear friend Helen lost her husband, she assumed that their children would support one another through the grieving process. Instead, before the funeral had even taken place, whispers about who gets what had started circulating. The family that was once so close became divided over inheritance disputes, and even years later, the wounds had not fully healed. If there is one thing I've come to understand, it's that discussing inheritance plans with family can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, transparency can help manage expectations. On the other, it can open the door to resentment, jealousy, and conflict. I've seen it happen too many times. Instead of openly discussing who will receive what, focus on ensuring your will is legally sound and reflects your true wishes. If you feel the need to communicate certain aspects, do so with a neutral third party present, such as an attorney, who can mediate and prevent misunderstandings. More importantly, make decisions based on what feels right to you, not what others expect. At the end of the day, your legacy should be one of love and wisdom, not a source of tension. A well-prepared will, handled with discretion, ensures that your family can focus on what truly matters, honoring your memory rather than disputing your assets. 6. Future travel or absence plans. Avoiding safety risks. I used to be the kind of person who excitedly shared every detail of my upcoming trips with anyone who would listen. That changed the day my friend Martha returned home from a vacation only to find her house had been broken into. It turned out that someone overheard her talking about her absence and saw it as an opportunity. We often don't think about how small details, like mentioning an upcoming trip on social media or telling an acquaintance our exact travel dates, can put us at risk. I now keep my travel plans to myself and only inform a trusted friend or family member who needs to know. When I'm away, I arrange for a neighbor to collect my mail and leave a light on, making it less obvious that my house is empty. Another mistake I once made was discussing travel plans with someone I thought was a friend, only to later realize they used that information to take advantage of my absence. Since then, I've been much more careful about what I share and with whom. We live in a world where personal security requires vigilance. While it's natural to want to share exciting plans, always think twice about who is listening. Your safety is worth more than a casual conversation. 7. Past relationships and intimate matters. I remember a conversation I had with my mother years ago. She was in her late 60s then, and I had asked her why she never spoke much about her past relationships. She smiled knowingly and said, "Some things are meant to stay in the heart, not on the lips." At the time, I didn't fully grasp the wisdom in her words, but now I understand when we share too much about our intimate relationships, we invite others to form opinions, judgments, and sometimes even interference. I've seen friends lose their dignity because they let too many people into the most sacred corners of their hearts. There was a time I confided in a close friend about struggles in my marriage. I thought I was just venting, looking for support. But soon, every disagreement I had with my husband seemed to be public knowledge. People who had no place in my marriage were offering advice, whispering opinions, and casting judgments. It took me a long time to reclaim my peace, to learn that some stories are not meant for the world, Instead of sharing every detail, I've learned to confide only in those who truly deserve my trust. When we hold back certain intimate details, we protect our emotional dignity. We give ourselves space to process, heal, and grow without the weight of external judgment. Guarding personal matters isn't about secrecy, it's about self-respect. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that not everyone needs to know everything about you, especially when it comes to the matters of the heart. 8. Your unfiltered opinions about others. I've always believed that one of the greatest gifts in life is the ability to keep trust. Over the years, I've learned that people reveal their character not just by what they say, but by what they choose to keep silent. There's something about aging that makes people want to share their opinions more freely, especially about family and friends. Maybe it's the years of bottled up emotions or the confidence that comes with experience, but I've seen too many friendships and family bonds damaged because of an offhand comment said in the wrong place. I recall an afternoon tea with an old friend. We were reminiscing about the past when she casually mentioned something unkind about a mutual acquaintance. Nothing cruel, but just enough to plant doubt in my mind. Later, when I met that acquaintance, I found myself looking at her differently, questioning things I never had before. And then it hit me. Words have power. Even the smallest remark can change the way someone is perceived. I wondered, had I done the same to others? Had I shared an opinion that made someone else doubt, a friend, a sibling, a partner? Since then, I've been more mindful of what I say. Opinions are fleeting, but the damage they cause can be lasting. I remind myself that trust is fragile, and if I wouldn't want my words repeated back to me, they are better left unsaid. There is wisdom in silence, and I've found that choosing my words carefully has preserved more relationships than sharing my unfiltered thoughts ever could. 9. Revisiting the past, letting go of old relationships and wounds. Looking back, I sometimes wish I had handled past relationships differently. Not necessarily in changing what happened, but in how I chose to carry those memories forward. There was a time I thought closure meant dissecting every past relationship, analyzing every hurt, and finding the perfect explanation. But as I got older, I realized that not every chapter needs an epilogue, and not every question needs an answer. One of the hardest lessons I learned was that rehashing past relationships rarely brings peace. I once sat with an old friend, and the conversation drifted to an ex of mine. Before I knew it, I was reliving every painful moment, recounting every disappointment. By the end of that conversation, I felt exhausted, as if I had reopened a wound that had long been healing. And for what? There was no resolution, just the resurfacing of emotions I thought I had moved past. I see many women my age doing the same, bringing up old loves, past betrayals, and lost opportunities, thinking it will provide some kind of relief. But more often than not, it only stirs up emotions best left in the past. I've learned that peace isn't found in revisiting the past, but in appreciating the lessons it left behind. Now, when the temptation arises to discuss an old relationship, I ask myself, does this serve me? If the answer is no, I let it rest. Some stories are meant to stay in the past, not because they don't matter, but because they've already served their purpose. The way we handle our personal relationships, the words we choose, and the memories we carry all shape the peace we cultivate in our lives. With time, I've come to see that true wisdom isn't in sharing every thought, but in knowing what to keep close to the heart. Some things are best left unsaid, not because they are shameful, but because their weight is ours alone to carry. Ladies, you are wise, strong, and absolutely unstoppable. We've uncovered the power of keeping certain things to ourselves, because your peace, dignity, and security matter. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one lesson life has taught you about protecting your energy? Drop it in the comments, and if this resonated with you, hit that like button. Subscribe and share with a friend who needs this reminder. Stick around. Next time, we're diving into something even more exciting. See you soon.